Hey fellow Force users, what is up? It's Jasmine, the AhsokaTanoFan. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So guys, it's been a while, but I am back today to look at episode 9 of Andor. I know that I took a little bit of a break in between. I kind of mentioned it in my other videos that it was just really overwhelming because I had a lot of stuff going on at once and juggling a lot of shows. So now that other shows are done, I've decided to come back to Andor. So I have had time to watch the other episodes. I didn't do videos to them, but I'm going to talk about them briefly now before we delve into this episode 9. This part might last a few minutes. If you want, you can skip ahead to the reaction using the chapters in the description below. The biggest question I have so far after watching these episodes is, why do they pronounce schedule? Am I the only one that has to kind of get used to that? The story and the dialogue in the show has been great so far. It's truly been exceptional. In my last video, which was to episode 3, we saw how the Pre-Mor guys had tried to pursue Andor, Cassian, and of course he escaped with Luthen. And we saw basically that the whole operation was a shit show, for lack of a better word. And then you actually see in the following episode, the Pre-Mor guys are actually under full Imperial control now, obviously, because now they can't be trusted to carry out operations on their own. So the Empire has decided to step in and fully watch and surveil everything they're doing, which is exactly what Surreal's boss was afraid of. So you kind of see things wind down a little bit, and Surreal obviously goes back home to live with his mom, and he can't get the idea of Cassian Andor out of his head, I guess because he felt so close to getting him, yet he was so far at the same time. During that episode 4, we also are introduced to Mon Mothma as well as Deidre. It was cool to see Mon Mothma again because we haven't seen her for a while actually. Well, recently we saw her in Tales of the Jedi animation. In the movies, she didn't have, I would say, such a big role to play. This is the first time we're actually seeing more of her story and her role in setting up the early network of the rebellion. So it's really cool to see. She definitely has a lot of her own that she's juggling. You see her family dynamic is not the greatest. She's not close to her husband or her daughter, and her daughter seems to side with her husband more than her. But you do see that she is connected to Luthen, and they meet at this gallery where they talk in secret about the early stages of the rebellion. But you notice that she always has to kind of put on this smile and this facade because she's always being watched. So it just kind of speaks to just how long and far a reach the Empire really does have to everybody. You see that Deidre is introduced. She's a new character. You could tell right away that she is definitely ambitious and she's looking to rise in the ranks of the Empire, and she definitely seems to notice things that other people don't. She seems to look at things a different way and takes everything seriously that the rebels do, whereas everybody else kind of passes it off as not a big deal, not a big threat. And you could argue that that might be a reason why the Empire does fall in the end, because they don't take a small thing seriously. They kind of maybe perhaps wait till things get too big and too out of control before they act. We see her over the course of the episodes kind of rise more and more in the ranks. And then of course, immediately after Cassian flees with Luthen recruits him to be part of a mission. And so during episode 4 and 5, we really see that build up to the heist. You're introduced to new characters, new rebels. You see Cassian work with them. These characters are definitely interesting characters. As much as Cassian is there to help them and he has a lot of expertise, they also have a lot of insight to offer Cassian as well. You could definitely see that they're determined people. One of them, I believe it was Vel, said a line, "Everyone has their own rebellion." And I think that is such an important line, probably one of the most important ones in the series. You really see that while they are working on doing their own heist, Luthen has his own struggle. He's trying to set up this network in secret while maintaining his other connections. And you see Mon Mothma is struggling with her own family, as well as trying to put on a front for these senators and make them think one thing while she's really up to something else. Even Deidre has her own struggles trying to get her superiors to take her seriously and rise in the ranks. So that line that everybody has a rebellion was really, I think, a standout line for me. One of the characters, Nemik, also in that episode, I think it was episode 5, had said, "A surprise from above is never as big as a surprise from below." And I believe he said that when one of the TIE fighters flew over them. And that was a big standout line as well. It kind of implies that in order to take the Empire down, you really kind of have to work from within. surprise them from within when they least expect it. You really get to know the characters over the course of episode 4 and 5 and who they are, what their backstories are. You see the heist finally go down in episode 6. You kind of know going into the heist that not everybody was going to make it out alive because the stakes really were raised and it was a dangerous mission. And so you see that happen. Unfortunately, we did see some people die. It just shows, again, every time you go up against the Empire, it is going to come with a cost, but that is ultimately what these people are prepared for. But that was a really well done heist. It had been episodes in the making, so the tension really built up. I liked during the heist how the whole celestial event was happening as well. It really provided the optimal distraction for them to pull off what they pulled off. And it kind of actually speaks to what Mon Mothma says later on. I believe it was in episode 8 where she says that if they continue to look at her as just an irritation, maybe they'll be distracted from what she's really doing. And so in the same way, everyone was focused on this event, they were distracted from what the rebels are really doing. Saw by the end, Cassian confronted Skeen. Skeen basically wanted to take the money for the two of them, and presumably maybe just himself by the end. If he's already thinking of doing that and turning his back on his teammates, who's to say that he wouldn't have done it to Cassian if Cassian had taken that deal? But of course, Cassian doesn't take the deal and he kills Skeen in a very kind of split-second decision in a similar way that he killed the Primor officers in episode 1. And then moving into episode 7 now, we're dealing with the aftermath of the heist. Now the Empire is definitely on high alert and they're implementing new protocols which basically are introducing tougher sentences for smaller crimes. In this episode, we also see Admiral Yularen, which is good, and he mentions Palpatine as well. So it's nice that we're kind of getting appearances and mentions of other Star Wars characters. During this episode, at the beginning, showed Surreal in his room, and you can notice that he has action figures, stormtrooper action figures on his desk, just showing that he idolizes them and wants to be one of them one day. And I think that speaks to his ambition early on in the series to just rush and try and get to Ferrix to capture Cassian Andor. His mom actually makes a comment about his outfit that catches my attention. She talks about how his collar's too high. She asked if he had adjustments made, and he said that he had it tailored. And early on in the series, his boss asked him the same question, did you make adjustments to your uniform? And he said he had it tailored. He always makes adjustments to his uniforms when he wears them, which is interesting. And then as much as they're talking about collars during that scene, later when we see Deidre, her collar is like nice and high. So it's kind of like contrasting scenes there. Deidre also makes a comment to someone later on in the episode about how his collar is not adjusted properly. So there's lots of talk about uniforms when it comes to the Empire. They not only want to introduce policies that are going to make them appear tougher, but they also want to look tougher as well. So I guess that has to do with how they wear their uniforms. So in this episode, you see Deidre really start to rise in the ranks more. Now she's fully in control of the Morlena sector. Having her in control now, I think the rebels have more of a fight on their hands because she definitely seems to have an eye for things and really kind of wants to push the Empire even further in their pursuit and crackdown of this rebellion. So she's someone definitely to watch out for sure. What we also see in this episode is Luthen's assistant speak to Vel about presumably wanting to kill Cassian so that he can't be traced back to Luthen. If they do that, doesn't that kind of make them just as bad as the Empire or close to it? And also, how much can we really trust this assistant? Is she really working for/with Luthen, or does she have her own agenda? And then, of course, by the end of episode 7, we see that Cassian is imprisoned for basically nothing, which is again because of the policy they implemented. And the prison conditions are rough to say the least. And you even see the color scheme, which is interesting. It's all basically white. The walls are white, the uniforms of the prisoners are white, and the only contrast is the Imperial officers who are dressed in black, almost as if to show the contrast between light and dark, but also to show that the prisoners are basically worth nothing to them. They just literally blend into the walls. You notice there seems to be a pattern with Cassian where he is in pursuit of something, maybe gets caught or has to flee, and then he ends up being aligned with underdogs. That kind of happened with Ferrix. He was in line with underdogs, had to flee. Then he was recruited for the mission. He was aligned with underdogs, and now he's in prison where he's meeting more people. So he definitely may make important allies here going forward. We see Andy Serkis imprisoned as well, so it's nice to see him again. You see a bit more of Deidre and Surreal in this episode as well, and Deidre and Surreal actually have a lot in common, I think. They both are people that are more ambitious, but perhaps weren't taken seriously in the beginning, but were on to something. So I can almost see them becoming more allies down the road, possibly. We also are reintroduced to Saw Gerrera this episode, which we know from Rogue One, he was an important part in the rebellion. We see Mon Mothma this episode struggle again to kind of put on the front, but she's also starting to confide in more people. We saw her confide in that man. I kind of am nervous for her. I hope that he is trustworthy and doesn't instead turn her in or out her in some way. And then we saw Val and Cinta. Val kind of wants to stay with Cinta. Cinta is straight business, so she's just like, this is what we gotta do. We gotta separate because the Empire is gonna be looking for us. And she tells Val that she's a mirror and you love me because I show you what you need to see. I thought that was another powerful line. The show is just really on a roll with the one-liners. That is a line that kind of speaks to multiple storylines. You could argue that Deidre is that way. She was kind of a mirror to everybody else, including her superiors. She's showing them what they need to see, which is that these rebels need to be taken seriously. Mon Mothma is showing people what they need to see as well, putting on this front so that she can appear as something she's not, so as not to draw attention to what her real plans are. Cassian is the same way. He's putting on a front, assuming multiple identities to conceal his true identity and what he really is planning. So overall, just a really great line from that episode. So I think I talked long enough, guys. Finally, without further ado, let's blast our way into the episode and check out what's in store for us. Yeah, we still have to figure out what happened to his sister, too, Cassian.
I don't like wasting time.
This girl's evil, man.
Pull in the net, and the easy thing is to assume that everything is a fish. I take a more nuanced view. So I'll tell you everything I know to be true, and in doing so, perhaps convince you to cooperate without intervention.
She means torture.
We have Dr. Gorse, who's developed a unique interview system some of us are very excited about.
That does not sound good.
For a man with very little actual rebellious activity on his resume, he was remarkably resistant. This makes us think there's more to be learned, which leads to a longer session. And there we are, wasting time.
She's intimidating, man.
He was sent the fractal radio unit you used yesterday afternoon. Now, this unknown woman seemed less interested in generating political activity than she was in using your planet to acquire stolen Imperial equipment.
Damn.
Were you aware that the buyer met Park only once before being turned over to you? You're in my net, Biggs. Are you a fish or are you a thief?
She seems like she's not gonna tell her anything.
You're ISB, aren't you? Worst of the worst.
You're going to tell me absolutely everything you know about the buyer.
I don't know the buyer.
Really?
Really?
Well, Simon Park says you've had at least 6 meetings he's away.
Damn. Pack talked a lot, eh?
You're injured trying to warn them. Your co-worker is killed trying to win your freedom.
Coworker, that's Tim?
When was the last time you spoke with Cassian Andor? The very worst thing you can do right now is bore me.
Man. Every time she gets close up to her face like that, it's kind of intimidating.
She's all yours, Dr. Gorst.
Damn it. Were they bringing her somewhere, or are they just strapping her down? Oh boy, someone's gotta save that girl, or maybe she'll save herself somehow.
We can take the ship if we push. I can use a proper meal.
See, that's how the Empire gets things done, because they really pressure their prisoners with promise of reward or threat of punishment, or both.
Olaf is going home.
You man for them today? Always the next day, right?
You know the drill.
The restraints are nothing to be feared. It's much safer for you to be tethered as we engage.
This guy just looks like a creepo, I don't know. Something's not right in his eyes. Like, he looks like he enjoys this too much.
There's an outer rim moon called Dizon Frey. There's a sentient species there, quite unusual. They created such a server. The local commanders were granted permission to use any means necessary. They make a sound as they die, quite unlike anything anyone had ever heard before. There were 3 communications officers monitoring the documentation, and they were found hours later, huddled together in various states of emotional distress beneath the ship's bridge. Found a section of what we believe are primarily children.
Is he gonna play the recordings?
Doesn't take long.
Oh, that's what he's gonna play for her.
Feel that? Let me know when you're willing to cooperate.
Let's get on with it.
Damn. That's crazy. See, this is really what separates the Empire from the Republic. They both had their shortcomings, but... Damn it. But the Republic was never like this. Ooh. That scene transition there is kind of disturbing. He's gonna plan to escape, isn't he? Escaping is kind of his thing.
New man on the floor. Everyone hold positions.
Oh, you better get out there before they notice he's gone. That guy looks like he was eyeing him, Cassian.
2 men back. 2 weapons.
No boots.
Oh, okay. No, never mind. They're both planning an escape.
Silence!
Damn.
The elevator's not wide.
I have a new idea.
They're gonna use the elevators.
Take 1 guard, 1 weapon.
Ah, poor Bix, man.
When was the last time you spoke with Cassian Andor?
Is she gonna tell them? Hard to say.
Ready up? I'm ready. Ready now.
I hope nobody leaks the plan of escape to one of the guards, you know?
Do you think I don't want to win? Am I working or not? What are you waiting for?
What are they making?
Keep her here.
Oh, man.
Keep her alive.
As a hostage?
As a witness.
And Salmon Park?
I don't care.
Man, what a cold bitch, man. Great casting, though. She really fits the role so well. She does a good job. Oh, poor Bix. Coruscant.
Is there a more important issue facing
Are we gonna see
right
Palpatine,
now
you think?
than imperial overreach? The public order resentencing directive is the next step toward complete, unchallenged authority. To the power and independence of this remarkable chamber.
Are those people all signing out?
Those of you who still believe that when we enter this building, we are in a temple.
Is no one listening to her? Damn, she has a rough, man.
They called from the residence. Your cousin, she's arrived.
Who's her cousin? She really is carrying on Padme's work, I feel like.
Well, everybody settles down right now.
Something's wrong.
Oh, are they gonna kill them or something?
All right.
I guess stay there now.
They're doing something to the air.
Level 2. He's coming this way around now.
What's he saying?
They're doing something to them. I don't know what though. Gonna cut off the oxygen or something?
Level 2, far side. And you're panicking about something that's happening on the other side of the building. Oh, yes, but you've got to...
Stand in place. On program. Feet down. Face front. Hands on heads.
He's being as dismissive as Deidre's superiors. Or maybe do they know that Cassian is there? Gonna try and capture Cassian? Oh, that's Vel, right? Well, is Vel supposed to be the cousin? Because the driver said your cousin's here. Oh yeah, she just said Aunt Vel. So I guess that's her cousin.
The Empire doesn't rest. The rebellion comes first. We take what's left.
That's what Cinta told her.
What does he have you doing?
She doesn't want to talk about it.
Things are happening. There's risk.
It fits.
This girl. That little girl might just be my least favorite character in the show.
You'll regret it.
So they're getting better food.
About it. How many guards on each level?
You want out of here alive. Turn that part of your mind off.
You think they care what we say?
You think they care enough to make an effort?
Like you would know.
He does know.
Nobody's listening. Nobody.
He's gotta be careful though. I don't know if he can trust this guy. He might just go rat him out. Oh, he's telling him there. Maybe. With his hands or...
Nobody's listening!
Hey, isn't that the name of the episode? Nobody's listening.
Colleen gave us a list of every piece of gear that came through Ferrix.
Damn, she did talk quite a bit. Did she mislead them though?
Andor returned to Ferrix 3 nights after Aldani with money.
Couldn't that be from the sale of the Star Path?
They left it behind, right?
Andor had shaved. The rebels at Aldani were clean shaven.
Interesting. Kind of random, but this guy and the actress who plays Vel are both in Game of Thrones. I wonder if one of the Game of Thrones producers or whatever were involved in this.
She's too old and frail for anything serious. She's our bait. She's the reason Andor came back.
Shit.
We're on her full time.
That's why she should have left Marva.
Have you heard? What? What happened to you in 2-5? They don't know about it.
Tell them.
What did he say? I don't know.
Shit. So they killed them all.
You said they find the whole bridge.
Shit, it's okay. I see needs to be careful, man.
It's a rumor. We have heard nothing.
In case they're listening, that's why he's saying that?
Another shift. So let's keep our mouths shut.
Hmm.
You're so busy these days. Perhaps you're forgetting to eat.
He's searching my room again.
It's called cleaning.
Moms always do that.
I find you a job. I prepare 2 meals a day and put you back on your feet. And what do I read? A stranger. Imagine I cracked under the weight of your neglect.
I've been promoted. The demands of my time will be increased.
Uncle Harlow will be so pleased.
Is he gonna leave? She's kind of right though. He kind of is being a little ungrateful. But she also shouldn't be snooping on him like that. I really would like to know what the hell they're building. Is it a ship part? A droid? Something's gonna happen to the elderly man, I think. He might have a heart attack or something. I don't know, I just don't have a good feeling.
Heading back to Chandra today.
Yes,
Find yourself a husband.
wasn't on my list of things to do.
Nope, she's got a girlfriend.
Who's left of any value at your age?
Yes, all the good ones are taken.
I think Mon Mothma knows, actually, about her girlfriend, Cinta.
At least you've not gone political, Val. All the interesting people are getting very tedious these days.
What have we done, Val? We've chosen a side. We're fighting against the dark.
Hopefully that's not the last time they see each other. Man, almost seems like a farewell scene, you know? Aw, Bix. There's Deidre.
I wanted to thank you for the promotion.
I had nothing to do with it.
Awkward.
Have you been waiting out here?
Yes. I needed to find and to follow on and follow the conversation.
The look on her face kind of making me laugh.
You were brought in for questioning. Are you stalking me?
She's like, what is up with you, dude?
I thought I had ruined my life.
They're gonna be allies, I'm telling you.
After meeting you and discovering you understood how dangerous Cassian Andor was, and just being in your presence, I realized.
Wait, does he like her?
A dream worth clinging to.
I think he kind of likes her.
You were arrested. You were aware of that.
I want what you want.
You come near me again, you pursue any of this, and I swear I'll have you in a cage on the outer rim.
Nope, that didn't go too well. But kind of like what I said, guys, at the beginning of the video, Surreal and Deidre actually have a lot in common because they're both very ambitious and they both were not taken seriously about their suspicions early on.
An hour ago.
From our target list?
No, random, but he's using the
But Surreal got fired, essentially, and Deidre got promoted.
Get Dr. Gorst. Send him out there immediately.
I already did.
They move quick.
I've been over the accounts. Time is not unlimited. We need a Chandrilan banker,
You have someone in mind.
Davos Calden,
He's a thug.
the wealthiest thug of them all.
Don't tell me.
I wanted to bring you a solution.
You told him.
That you're feeling constricted by the new tax law. I could keep looking.
But they don't have time.
We've got a rebel pilot in custody, one of Anton Krieger's group. He was picked up at a customs check.
Destroy the ship. Make it look like an accident.
There's too much at stake. If I were Krieger, I'd be suspicious.
What if we foul the ship? An accident, something mechanical. Have the pilot found dead in the cockpit.
Excellent work. Let's go.
Wait, so are they talking about Luthen? Is Luthen the pilot? Or somebody else? I might have missed that part. So when are they gonna pull out this escape, man? Yeah, see the older man, something's up with him.
Come on, let's get this done.
Something's up with him.
On program.
Oh shit.
Program in place.
Oh, he's covering him. Damn. Did they just stun those people? Look like they did.
Take his head.
He looks not good.
You've only got a few shifts left. You're going home.
He's not gonna make it, man. Damn. Oh, is that the doctor? He's got that thing in his hand. And he doesn't have his hands over his head. Man, is he alive still?
Name's Olaf. I've seen him before.
Oh, I've seen him before. Okay, so he's been having problems.
Only got 40 shifts left.
His name is Olaf. I don't want to know his name.
Wonder if that makes it harder for him, gets him more attached.
Get him back on his feet. That's another option.
What?
Is he dead?
You can't save him.
Nothing to save.
He's dead.
He's had a massive stroke.
Shit.
I need a bag and a trolley.
He's coming.
Damn, just like that.
He's lucky. He'll pass peacefully, which is more than I can say for the rest of us. And you'll be begging for what he's getting.
What do you mean? What happened on level 2?
You feel nothing.
Sometimes the unspoken things are the most scary. Like, we don't really know exactly what happened on level 2, and now it's making it more intense, you know? Oh, shoot.
He's passed.
He looks pissed.
What happened down on 2?
Yeah, tell us, damn it.
I need a bag and a trolley.
Oh, he's trying to make the guard go away.
A man who was just released on 4 ended up back on 2 the next day. Word got out on the floor and then they killed them all.
No one's getting out, are they?
Not after this.
Damn. Now they have to escape.
On each level.
Yep, now he's asking him again.
Never more than 12.
Good, he's on board. Oh shit, that's the end. So that was definitely an intense episode. Throughout this episode, you could see just how terrifying and cold the Empire is. And this has kind of been building up from prior episodes as well. You really just see how expendable everybody is at the hands of the Empire, especially by the end of the episode there when we find out what happened on level 2. And by the end of the episode, I think the realization just kind of sets in that none of us are getting out. Not only after hearing about what happened on level 2, but also seeing Olaf pass away there. He suffered a stroke, which is presumably not only due to older age, but also because of the physical labor, the intensity of it. I think seeing him be so close to freedom, yet passing away just before he's able to enjoy that freedom was a real eye-opener to Andy Serkis's character, that nobody is getting out. And even what the doctor said was kind of chilling. Olaf is the lucky one compared to what the rest of us have in store. And that's actually a common theme that we've seen throughout the series. A lot of the unseen is actually the most terrifying. We didn't see what happened on level 2, we just heard about it. Even Bix's interrogation, we're gonna get to that in a second, but a lot of it we don't really see. We kind of just see little bits, but you can kind of hear of what happened, and that makes it almost more terrifying. Even the build up to the heist, you would see probe droids, starfighters cross over them. Even though it was a quick shot, it was always kind of a reminder that the Empire is here. Even if you're not seeing a battle take place, you feel that terrifying presence. So that's something that the show really accomplishes well. You can see from this episode how the Empire is able to function the way it does and keep everybody in line. And a big part of it is because of the promise of reward and the threat of punishment. We saw in this episode, there is no real reward. The reward that they are going to be free and get out is a lie, but the punishment, on the other hand, is very real, and we see what happens when they do step out of line. So the Empire uses these tactics and kind of pits people against each other, makes them compete for better food, and keeps people on their toes because they don't want to get punished. And that's how they get people to work for them and help them in their cause. So it's definitely different tactics compared to the Republic for sure. With the passing of Olaf and hearing about what happened on level 2, the realization is setting in that we need to actually do something about this, because if we keep following what they're telling us to do, we're just going to be walking right to our graves. Actually, the title of the episode is Nobody's Listening, and it's ironic because that's what Cassian said in his cell. He was trying to talk about possible escape and nobody was listening to him, so he shouted that out. By the end of the episode, of course, he asks Andy Serkis's character again. I forget his name, is it Kino? He asks him how many guards, and this time he tells him, so you can tell that he's on board now. People are finally starting to listen. In the beginning of the series, nobody was listening to Deidre, even though she was right about a lot of things. Nobody was listening to Surreal, even though he was right about a lot of things. I still think the two of them actually have a lot in common, so I feel like they could become allies. When Mon Mothma is giving her speech, or whenever she gives speeches, frankly, nobody really listens to her. So there's definitely a theme of not listening, and you kind of have to question what are going to be the consequences of that going forward. Well, for the Empire, the consequence is that the rebels were able to pull off that heist on the garrison. Had they listened to Deidre from the beginning, they may not have been successful with that. The consequence of no one listening to Mon Mothma is that the Empire is going to go stronger and stronger to the point where their authority is unchallenged, as she mentioned. And actually, I'm noticing a lot of parallels between her story and Padme's story. Padme saying her famous line, "This is how democracy dies," with thunderous applause. And even the setting when she says that is kind of similar to the setting of where Mon Mothma is giving her speech, trying to plead with other senators. So again, nobody listened to Padme, nobody's listening to her. And the consequence of that is the Empire is going to grow stronger. And of course, the consequence of nobody listening to Cassian, if they continue not to listen, is they're going to end up like all those other inmates that were killed, and they're never going to get out. I wanted to speak on Bix's interrogation for a sec. There's a lot of shows and movies, scenes like this would be kind of gory, you know. With that scene, there was none of that. Like, there wasn't that action, it wasn't gory, nothing like that. But it was one of the most disturbing scenes I've seen, because again, it's more of this idea of what's unseen is the most terrifying. They didn't show her interrogation in full, but you could kind of hear it from behind the door, and even the way the doctor was describing sounds that Bix would hear during the interrogation all makes it all the more terrifying and disturbing. In the Ahsoka novel, there was a scene that was kind of similar to that one, involving one of the characters, and that same terrifying presence of the Empire was present during that scene, and the way they described it was kind of similar. Like, they had used a device on her, and they had basically told her that she was gonna die for her crimes, which obviously was a cruel and unusual punishment because this character hadn't really done anything. But that just speaks to the Empire wanting to be as cruel as they possibly can to completely crush any rebellion. The reason why that is the case, why they're so cruel, is because they implemented those policies that makes every crime a class 1 offense. I remember that scene in the novel actually being one of the more difficult scenes to read, and I definitely kind of noticed parallels between that and Bix's interrogation. It just shows really how cold the Empire is, and perhaps the most fundamental difference between the Empire and the Republic. There's been so much talk in these Star Wars shows, especially the Clone Wars, you know, Tales of the Jedi, how the Republic basically failed their people, how they were kind of playing both sides. They weren't always doing what they're supposed to. The Republic was by no means perfect, but one thing they didn't do, I don't think, was take pleasure in interrogating people this way, which is what the Empire seems to enjoy doing. They're willing to get to the bottom of things by any means necessary, whereas the Republic always kind of practice a certain amount of restraint, minus Anakin. Anakin obviously did not practice that restraint, as we saw several times throughout the Clone Wars, but that's why he fell to the dark side. The man that Mon Mothma was speaking to told her that time is not unlimited. Even Vel mentioned to Mon Mothma that we've chosen a side. So you're getting to the point where you have to choose a side. And Deidre says several times how she doesn't like wasting time. And during Bix's interrogation, she even used that net analogy. All this talk of time kind of gives the sense that time is running out, the walls are closing in, or the net is closing in, if you will, on both sides. For the Empire, time is running out to find these rebels and crush the rebellion before it grows too big. But time is also running out for the rebels to act and force the Empire's hand before it's too late, before they grow to the point where there's no return and it's impossible to crush them. It kind of goes back to what Luthen has been saying to Cassian even since the beginning. Don't you want to take a stand? Don't you want to fight these guys for real? And he even mentioned in another episode, I believe it was to Mon Mothma, that the Empire is choking us so slowly now, we're beginning to not even notice. And so he wants to kind of take a stand before things get out of control and the Empire becomes too big to stop. And then of course, in Cassian's case, time is also running out for them to escape this prison before they meet the same fate as the other inmates that were killed. I do have some remaining questions though. I want to know who the rebel pilot was that they picked up at random. Is it Luthen, or is it somebody that we haven't seen yet? Who is that thug that was mentioned to Mon Mothma? I believe his name was Davos Skulden that they mentioned. What kind of role is he gonna play? I don't believe that we've heard of him before, but he sounds, according to Mon Mothma, like somebody that is kind of outside the law. What's that confrontation gonna be like? Is she gonna be able to count on him for what she needs to get done? I think it also speaks to the kind of mess she's in now. The Empire has overreached so much that she's now potentially having to do dealings with criminals, or thugs, as she said, in order to get done what she needs to get done. When the law becomes so large and overreaching, more and more activities would be considered illegal. And that's kind of the point that the Empire has reached now. As much as Mon Mothma refers to him as a thug, like who is really considered a thug and a criminal when the Empire is arguably the biggest criminal? We still gotta figure out what happened to Cassian's sister. Is he gonna find her? Are we gonna see her in the series at all? And finally, is Cassian gonna be successful pulling off this prison escape, which I assume is probably gonna come next episode? See, he just pulled off a heist and now he's gonna pull off another mission. Poor Cassian just keeps getting sucked into these missions, right? So yeah, lots to get to next episode, guys. You let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this episode, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, guys, and I will see you for the next episode of Andor. Until next time, guys, take care and see you soon.